Shalom, Kol Halal, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakaha Kwadash. Double honors into the apostles, double honors into the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. The would-be judges, the 144,000. All right, the tabernacle of David, which is to be the ruling governing body here on earth over all nations, over all people of the 12 tribes of Israel, referred to in Revelation, the 7th chapter. As the Bible says, heaven will be here on earth and the Israelites will rule. There will be one government forever under the authority of who the world ignorantly and fraudulently called JC. And to the rest of the scattered elect, are people that are scattered among the heathen nations that have the appearance of the heathen nations, people like Shahid Bolson here. I believe that he's one of those scattered. It's not going to help him much though on this side, but the fact that you can't take away that fact that our people are scattered among the other nations and that they look like the other nations, those that are scattered. That's why the Lord is coming back to gather them back up. All right. Because you just can't identify them with the naked eye. And if you don't have the Spirit of the Lord with you, you can't identify them that way either. Okay? And to the sisters, the Akwath, that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone, coming at you another brutal lesson in truth. All right, and I'm going to play about 5 minutes of this video, starting at about the 11-minute mark. And just let him do his thing to show you the hypocrisy of Esau Edom, the so-called white man, and how he operates within the color of law. He does things, this country and this presidency, and not just this presidency, but everyone before them, for the most part. This is why they actually killed Kennedy, because Kennedy was trying to come back to operating within the actual law. Since 1913, since the creation of the Federal Reserve, the creation of all these different agencies, the ADL, they've been operating within a color of law. So they do things that have the appearance of law that isn't law at all. All right. Let me get a quick scripture before I start playing this. Popped into my head, which is Amos 3:7. All right. These mysteries, these truths, this understanding of the gospel. Matter of fact, there's a really good video that young brother Taz, formerly of Colorado, now in the DC camp. He just did it about the mysteries. Okay, and it's an excellent video. But it says, Amos 3:7, surely the Lord power will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants, the prophets. So the prophets are the secrets are revealed unto them, the mysteries. All right, which is the new understanding, which means all these fraudulent religions, Christianity being one of them, Judaism, Islam, all those things came along during the time when the books were sealed, when there was no real understanding. This is why they can't get it. All right, because the gospel is only for a few select people, in number, and considering how many people there are on the face of the earth and how many people are actually going to receive understanding and salvation upon the return of the Lord. When the masses are going to be destroyed, like the scripture says, those that are born in vain. All right. And people always want to make it what they think and feel. Well, my God would never do that. You don't know your God because you haven't read his book. Okay. You're saying that out of your vain, stupid opinion. Okay. But without any further ado, Shahid Bolson.
Determined by the burden of proof. You understand? A law is not broken if a court cannot say that that law was broken. That's the view of lawyers. That's the view of jurists, and that's the view of judges. That's the realist's view. That's the practical view. Oliver Wendell Holmes very famously said, the prophecies of what the courts will do are what I mean by the law. Meaning, this is the practical interpretation. The practical interpretation of innocent until proven guilty, you see? Practically, whether an action is legal or illegal is decided by the court. And illegality has to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, this is the realist view of the law. This is the realist view, and this is the view that activists need to have about the law. That's the view that the power structure has about the law. It's the view that the rich have about the law. I mean, you and I both know that nobody in power believes that the law is actually supposed to determine whether they can or cannot do something. It only determines how they will do it. Because the truth of the matter is that in America, the only crime is breaking the law so obviously that you can get convicted. That's the system that you're in. That's the society that you're in. In that society, the rich have got you, the poor, jumping through hoops while they fly their private jets through loopholes. You understand? So learn your system. Learn what your system actually defines as legal and illegal. Now, I'm not telling you anything that you wouldn't be told by your attorney. I'm not telling you anything that you wouldn't hear from any attorney worth their salt. Lawyers are never interested in what you did or did not do. They are only interested in what can be proven. And that's how the people who run the system, that's how they operate. They operate on the basis of what they can get away with. Look, you have to understand something. You are a criminal. If you're an activist, you're a criminal. If you're pro-Palestine, you are a criminal. If you are against oppression, if you're against injustice, if you're against tyranny, if you're against genocide, you're a criminal in your society. I mean, hasn't the system taught you that already by now, after 2 years? You, your organizations, your groups, your communities, these are criminal organizations. Understand this. Just like the mafia, just like the cartels, just like the CEOs, and just like the politicians. Criminal organizations. You have to wrap your head around that. But just like how the cartels and just like how the mafia are never going to give up what they're doing, you and I both know they're never going to stop what they're doing. Activists are also never going to stop what they're doing. You're never going to give up what you're doing. But you see, the mob learned, organized crime learned the system. The cartels learned the system. They completely understand what legal and illegal means in America. So they do their best to stay on the side of what is legal. And legal means, again, whatever cannot be proven illegal in a court of law. That's how your system works. Do you understand? They don't get legal advice. They don't get high-paid attorneys in order for those attorneys to tell them to stop their criminal activity. No, they have lawyers to tell them how to continue their criminal activity.
So basically, you're not getting law at all within America. And if you got the type money, now you understand why there's two sets of justices here. Because in the Bible, your yea is yea and your nay is nay. There is no in between. There is no gray area when you're dealing with Yahweh Shem Shai, when you're dealing with the God of the Bible. And these people operate within a gray area, which allows corruption, which allows evil, which allows sin, which allows them to do you wrong. All right. Title 4D is a perfect example of that. You know, the drug companies are a perfect example of the insurance scams. All right. And whatever title that those organizations come under are all perfect examples of that. All right. They know that they're wrong, but they operate with like when they put out a certain particular thing that makes people sick, all right, or has effects that can could unalive you and that sort of thing. And then that happens, but they have clauses and things written that make themselves that renders them not guilty of anything, or they just make so much money, with certain things. They make money, in the billions. They can actually pay out millions in damages, and it doesn't even hurt them because they actually made billions in profits. And the law here allows them to do so.
Without going to jail, without getting convicted. Well, like I say, the power structure views your activity, your activism, as criminal activity. Honestly, they view you as a criminal organization.
Right, and especially if you believe on Yahweh Shem Shai, and you're teaching the truth of the Bible and preaching the downfall of Babylon the Great, that makes you an enemy, man. That makes you a criminal. That makes you an anti-Sem something, all right? Which is something that they created. That word is not in the Bible, all right? There was a man named Shem, or, for English translation, Shem, but there definitely was no man named Sem. And there's no group of people on the planet named, with that name either. That is a made up thing so that they can once again play within the realm of this of a law that they don't even follow. All right, something that appears to be the law.
So are you going to stop? No, but you need to learn how to continue doing what you're doing, continue your activities without going to jail, just like the mafia, just like the cartels. See, that's if you understand yourself properly as a resistance movement. Again, it doesn't matter if we're talking about resistance against American genocide in Gaza, or we're talking about, for example, resistance against the takeover of Washington, D.C., or the takeover of other cities. Or
Right,
whether we're
because you
talking,
got all these lobbyists and alphabet label lobbyists that have completely taken over your law, starting with the IRS. Okay, and they've been getting away with dirt and making millions for generation after generation now since 1913. That's over 100 years, man. Let's go to some evidences here. All right. This is something that J.D. Rockefeller said. The poisons will be hidden in everything that surrounds them and what they drink, eat, breathe, and wear. Look, our clothes, the materials are harmful to us. The air we breathe every time it rains, headaches, nausea, and all this weird shit that goes on. All right, how do you think when you eat, they put all these things in our food? The evidence of that, all the ED commercials. I keep talking about it. You know, that these ED commercials did not exist when I was a kid. This is something that is new because the effects of decades of metals and poisons and stuff you put in the rain, the plastics in the food is taking its effect on men and women. All right. Once again, it says the poisons, matter of fact, it says the poisons will be hidden in everything that surrounds them and what they drink, eat, breathe, and wear. We must be ingenious in dispensing the poisons, for they can see far. We will teach them that the poisons are good with fun images and musical tones. Remember all the Camel cigarette commercials? the candy cigarette commercials? So they rot your teeth, and then after you and then when you get older, you pick up a real pack of cigarettes. All right? Those that look up, they look up will help, will enlist them to push our poisons. So those that they look up to will help them. All right. Matter of fact, I'll put that on the screen. That's a really good one for you to have. And this was a statement by John D. Rockefeller. All right. Let's get another one, another receipt. This is in 1913. All right. Federal Reserve, 1913. IRS income tax, 1913. 1913 Rockefeller Foundation, 1913 American Cancer Association, 1913 ADL, 1913 Wahlberg linked to Rothschilds installed central banking, 1914 World War I. All right, and I ask you all in 1 year, coincidence or installation? And now look how many lobbyists and connected to the same people, the same group of society, all right, which are controlling everything, and they operate within the color of law while breaking the law of the land. Executive orders and titles, all right, are not law. Okay, the law of the land is the Constitution, and any title, any executive order, anything that's contrary to the supreme law of the land, which it is written, is breaking the law, and that person is committing treason. But yet you allow certain people to remain in office, etc., etc. Like I said, America is not the home of the brave, but America is the home of the bend over and take it. Okay, let's go to the book of Proverbs. Get some scriptures here. This is Proverbs 12. And I'm going to start at verse 17. Actually, I'm going to start up at verse 1 and 2 first. It says, whoso loveth instruction loveth knowledge, but he that hateth reproof is brutish. A good man obtaineth favor from Yahweh, but a wicked man devices will he condemn. All right? So the wicked devices of America, they created the Constitution, which actually on paper is pretty ingenious and just when you read it, but they don't follow. Neither did they ever apply what's written on it, fairly. Okay? This is Proverbs 12 and 17. He that speaketh truth showeth forth righteousness, but a false witness deceit. He just showed you that these lawyers are not here, are not interested in what you did or did not do. What they're interested in is what they can prove for you or against you. So to hell with the law. Can I prove that a law was broken, or can I prove that a law was not broken? When it shouldn't be, it should be plain. It shouldn't be a gray area. There is that speak of, it says, there is that speak of like the piercing of the sword, but the tongue of the wise is health. The lip of truth shall be established forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment. At the water Yahweh Sheba Shai, the time is short for us to have to listen to these lying tongues anymore. With J-ish that, and Christianity that, and IRS and you know, Pokemon this and if you know, you know. You know, you need to take this in order. No, you didn't have to take that before. And especially when the evidence is showing that if in this society, the cure is more damaging than the disease. Deceit is in the heart of them that imagine evil, but to the counselors of peace is joy. There is no evil to the just, but the wicked shall be filled with mischief. Lying lips are an abomination to Yahweh, but they that deal truly are his delight. And Lord's will, there will be a just reward for that very soon. So let's go to the next video. I particularly like these chicks, especially the one on the left. The reason is she's entertaining. She reminds me of someone, someone of the J-ish faction. Looks like her, sounds like her, talks like her. That was my client for years. And we had, just like I'm talking to you now, she and I had conversations like this. And she was a realist. She knew that she was a convert in the ish. She knew that. All right. Once she understood that I knew it. And so we would just have open conversations about it, you know, and, you know, she didn't like it, but she, you know, she agreed with most of the things that I said. Cause she's like, fuck, you know, and she reminds me so much of this chick. It's like they're damn near the same person. All right. And, her name, I won't say her last name, but her name was Dr. Lisa. She was actually a psychologist, and she told me that I was her psychologist. All right. That everybody needs therapy. And our conversations brought her back to the real. And she hated it. She said people don't like the truth because they don't, you know, the truth is scary and it hurt and it can be damaging to people. Or the flip side, it can, you know, it can actually be soothing to know, just to simply know the truth for some. And that it was the most uncomfortable thing, but she knew that time was going to run out. And she told me too that she knew that one day that they were, that she said, what you're saying and what you're doing is very dangerous. And I know that. That's why I open my lesson the way I does. Or I mean, the way I do it, you know. It says risking our lives and our freedom to do so. All right. And, you know, and she didn't know that I go on the highways and byways and all of that. But she knew that I stood firmly on what I believed, and that I believed that I, in a bloodline descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and that she was a bloodline descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Esau. All right. And there's no hate in that. But when your whole existence is based upon that lie, and then someone starts speaking the truth, you're hateful. Hence the reason why there's so many alphabet groups to defend that lie and to demonize you and catch you up in this, in with these titles, you know, and all these codes and titles that they create to pull you away from actual law and condemn you through their own devices.
You guys, but it seems like every single time I turn around, there's some MAGA person, MAGA adjacent linked person, some MAGA influencer that is accused credibly of sexual abuse towards children, exploitation of children, and then somehow they're getting skirted out of it. And this is interesting, and I flagged this last.
That's those titles and codes and those dirty lawyers. Remember, lawyers, you know, are loyal to the bar. Okay, to the British Admiralty royalty. They're not. They're not. They don't follow the Constitution. What they do, they learn the ways of getting around the law of the land and applying it for their clients to make money.
Last week with you guys, that Democrats' inability to be open and truthful and objective is leaving a vacuum for complete lunatics like Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I actually like Marjorie Taylor Greene. She and Marjorie Taylor Greene are a lot alike. She wouldn't want to hear that. This broad wouldn't want to hear that, but it's true.
To make the layups that Hakeem Jeffries should be making.
So she's mad that Marjorie Taylor is able to make layups and make points, all right, that are valid and true because of the behavior that's going on. But that's behavior that was set up by her people. Her people are the reason. And them not following the law are the reason Marjorie Taylor Greene is able to say what she's saying and do what she's doing, because in a lot of cases she's telling the truth when it comes to the criminality and the fraud behind the JOOs and what they're doing and how they are controlling every damn thing.
Making that Chuck Schumer should be making, but Hakeem and Chuck are compromised by their AIPAC donations.
Mm-hmm.
This is just a stunning story that gets zero coverage in mainstream news. And guess who's picked up on that? Dipshit anti-Semite Marjorie Taylor Greene. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is lying, claiming his executive director of Israel National Cyber Directorate, Tim Alexandrovich, was not arrested, according to a statement released by Mediate, the Las Vegas Metro Police Department's press release. So here's the crux of this story, you guys. There's a big sting in Las Vegas. Child sexting. If you've seen like on NBC, like To Catch a Predator, right? This is the real-time version of that. There's a guy who works for Benjamin Netanyahu's government that was caught in this sting. And he got a $10,000 bail for child solicitation of sex with a minor. And then he gets shipped back to Israel, and that's the end of it.
And the other 7 are facing justice. That brings to mind a scripture. All right. But, the person who's connected to the JOOs and all the lobbyists, et cetera, he gets a pass. And what people don't want to acknowledge, especially you Christians who try to elevate them to a position that they are not the people of the Lord. It's part of their religion that they can do things like this. It's in the Talmud. All right. This is Psalm 73:5, and it simply reads, "They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men." And if any group, because of Edomites, get away with child, it's them and many other things. Okay, they hold themselves not guilty to murderous genocide and try to make it and say something else, or they flip it around and call you the anti thing, the anti-sem word. They start playing with the anti-semantics to demonize you when you point out the criminality of what they're doing. Zechariah 11:5, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. All right. And they that sell them say, "Blessed be Yahweh, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not." So they, to put this in modern terms, the selling and trading of children. All right. The same way that they did the selling and trading of the children of Israel.
And this is such a moment for Democrats to step into the fray and say, America first. How does this help us? What's going on? Why is Trump yet again covering up for another pedophile?
And this is breeding that division.
But they can't make this argument because they take AIPAC money. And it is something that is dangerous.
Aha! But you take Alphabet lobbyist organization of the J-ish, you take their money. So now you have to shut up, bend over, and force your people to bend over and take it.
Imaging the Democratic leadership right now, and I'm talking about Jeffries and Schumer and others. You see like Cory Booker. This would be such a layup for Democrats to make this point, but they can't do it because they're so beholden to AIPAC. And AIPAC controls the Republicans and Democrats for whom they donate money to.
They can see now she's being facetious. They control America. Period.
All right, moving along. Speaking of zero moral high ground, I do want to take you to Dana Perino. Isn't that her name, Pumps?
Yes.
On Fox. And they absolutely wake up every day. This woman woke up this morning when she did this and she said, I'm going to be a willful dumbass. I'm going to be as stupid as I possibly can be today. Pop this up.
The other thing for me is that for the last week, Gavin Newsom, why am I giving him advice? You have to stop it with the Twitter thing. I don't know where his wife is. If I were his wife, I would say, "What? You are making a fool of yourself. Stop it. Do not do."
Now you look at the headline. While all this pedophilia and allowing pedophiles to escape justice, but look what it says: migrant driver accused of killing 3 in crash. They love to distract when they do something wrong and put Jake's face and make Jake the headline. Like clockwork, they're going to put a so-called brown or black face up and show their crimes while they're in the midst of doing much greater crimes.
Do not let your staff tweet. And if you're doing it yourself, put the phone away and start over. And if he's got a big job as governor of California, but if he wants an even bigger job, he has to be a little bit more serious.
All right. So this is obviously just absolutely, utterly insane that she can apply that logic to Gavin Newsom, but refuses to apply it towards Kinkle's McTaco Tits. Absolutely willfully chooses to apply it towards him. And this is the sandwashing of the willfully stupid people. Everybody that wakes up and watches Fox News, that is a triple Trumper, willfully decides today I'm going to be stupid. Because I'm sorry, I'm not going to let these people off the hook again and again and again. They were indoctrinated here, they're indoctrinated there. At this stage, if you're a boomer, if you're a Gen Xer, and you wake up every day and you willfully watch that shit, you're choosing to be a dumbass because you know what Trump's record is.
And I have to agree with her 100%. All right? Because the truth is so painful. They want to, just like the scripture says, don't, go on to hell with all that truth. Speak unto us smooth things, feel good things. All right? Roughly paraphrase. Somebody can put that on the comment board. I believe that's Isaiah.
Of over 10 years on the internet. And to hear her say that and not go, that's pretty rich. You're choosing to be a dumbass.
Well, and just how she's like, where is his wife? Bitch, you're for the party that want wives to be at home. You're for the party that doesn't want your blonde ass on Fox News. They want you at home babysitting your grandchildren. I mean,
well, see, I told you there's a secret war between the J-ish and Christianity. All right? And then Christianity doesn't follow his own doctrine because according to the Bible, to the Christian doctrine, a woman's not supposed to, these two shouldn't have this talk show. Their heads should be covered and they should be speaking publicly and teaching people and leading men. The Bible is very clear on its stance that a woman is not supposed to be in a position where they can usurp the authority over the man. And that's what, MAWA, Make America White Again, they want to actually enforce that while ignoring many other things. But this is showing you the division, and this is showing you that these people, these women, are completely and totally against their men. So with that in mind, let's go to the last video. Okay, with her rant against, so-called white people that want America free of anybody of color, because America and the world will be a very boring place without Jacob. All right. And Jacob being so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. The spice in the music, the spice in the food, the spice in entertainment, the spice in the bedroom. That comes from us.
I've had it with white people that triple trumped.
yeah.
That have the nerve and the audacity to walk into a Mexican restaurant, a Chinese restaurant, an Indian restaurant, go to perhaps their gay hairdresser, I don't think you should be able to enjoy anything but Cracker Barrel. And if you want to triple Trump and you want to browbeat DEI and you want to browbeat gay people and you want to browbeat black people as you've been doing for 400 years, and you want to browbeat this generation of immigrants that come over here and open up businesses earnestly, pay their taxes, you want to demonize them and call them rapists and felons and all this shit when the felon is the teeny weeny mushroom cock piece of shit, Kankles McTaco tits at the top of the ticket. I have fucking had it from top to bottom. White people that triple Trump should be banned, boycotted from enjoying the best thing that America has to offer, which is multiculturalism. Get your fat asses out of the Mexican restaurant. Get your fat asses over to Cracker Barrel, because nobody wants to see your fucking smug ass, teeny weeny, pink arm, big gut around. Nobody wants to see that shit. No.
Look, no hip hop, no jazz, no blues, no rock and roll, no country music. None of that. No classical music. When you learn the truth about that, that's not so-called white people's music. White people were not ruling Eurasia, that part of Asia that they call Europe, when classical music was created. All the lies are coming out, man. All right? All that, everything that you enjoy. All right? Caribbean, soul, Mexican food, Puerto Rican food, Cuban food, Vietnamese food. Everything that you enjoy, all right, is not from you. This is Job 27:15. Those that remain of him shall be buried in death, and his widows shall not weep. That's the final straw in the downfall of Esau. His women are against him. All right, that's why so many of them that are carrying the seed of men of color, mainly those of the so-called black man. So with that, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rekah HaKodash Kwam Yasharala, Abba Babal.